Monster. Should we talk about Everybody Knows I'm a Motherfucking Monster?
Monster. What's that coming over the hill? It's Monster
Kore-eda's new film.
Hirokazu Kore-eda.
Monster.
So Monster is, following on from, last year's Broker. The thing is Kore-eda is really like the big daddy of sentimental filmmaking. He makes often very beguiling, very beautiful, sentimental films. Have often quite tidy. They explore, ambiguous subject matter, but tend to have tidy endings. That's his thing. He's stock in trade. He does it very well. But they can leave something to be desired. There's not something quite right about them. They're quite manipulative and programmatic. Monster is an exploration of bullying, of shame and guilt and power, and all of these things. So it centers on a narrative around a young boy in a school with a single mum raising him, and this young boy has a friend at the school, and this young boy is accused of bullying this other guy, and their class teacher, Mr. Hito. Is it Hiro? Hiro. I missaid Hirohito. It's not. It's Hiro. Hiro. So Mr. Hiro is accused of HIRO is accused of sort of like abusing or bullying the young kid, and it kind of explores the ramifications of this.
And there's quite an amazing Kafkaesque scene where the mother, very understandably perturbed by her son's recent odd behavior,
it's very defensive.
Goes and meets the head teacher, who has this strange robotic quality in the way that she
reverts the script.
Yeah, in the way that she responds to the pleas of the mother. But basically, in the opening, you're really none the wiser as to whose fault it is, but you have a few clues, which then, in these subsequent retellings of the story,
three narratives.
Get different accounts, and it's not quite Rashomon where they are completely biased. They're all revealed to be biased accounts that tell a different chain of events.
At the end of Rashomon, there is no authoritative account.
Whereas these films they're not even from particular perspectives, but they sort of concertina between different perspectives.
From different segments of time. They show us different
moments.
Corrugations of time.
Exactly. And they kind of illuminate different bits of the story so that you kind of have a better idea once you've watched all three of them what happened. But to me, it felt a bit cheap because it was like it felt like I was being kind of purposefully, for the fun of it, I was just having like information about what was happening withdrawn and then shown to me at an inconvenient or an unreasonable time. Why did I have to wait like 40 minutes to find out that something else actually happened afterwards that recontextualizes the thing I just saw, but in this second iteration of how the story is told, just so that I can go, that's interesting.
It's a highly faceted narrative in a lot of ways. So it's, I know this is a buzzword at the moment, but it's highly baroque in terms of its structure. It reveals itself as a kind of polyvocal film later on. It's sort of surprising to suddenly
it does the first run of the story, and then it just restarts. It starts with a fight with this massive building that has a strip club in it on fire. And I
thought it was great, the evocation.
Yeah, that bit's pretty good.
It really is quite.
And then it
sublime.
goes again with the fire. Like, so the story's resetting when you see the fire, the building on fire again.
Yeah, and I think so. At times it was very sublime in its framing and composition, very beautiful. It has. Kore-eda has a real sensitiveness to these kind of excisions or these fragments of scenes that he pulls away in the way that Bresson would shoot a hand or a gesture. Kore-eda can be very good at alighting on a detail that might feel isn't necessarily narratively momentous, but he'll pull away and reflect on some leaves blowing on the ground, or he'll reflect on a drop of blood falling from somebody's nose. Decision to leave. And actually, it was not that dissimilar from the kind of fractured narrative structure, compositional structure of Decision to Leave by Park Chan-wook. But so we get these. He's got this great eye for these moments of sublime focus on particular things that aren't necessarily narratively important. They're just kind of emotively resonant. They're like little tuning forks that he scatters throughout the film. He's very good at that. So it looks nice, and it had beautiful sound design. But I think my problem with it felt quite emotionally manipulative. Right. It felt very synthetically tidy, because at the end it wanted us to know that actually the two boys are actually really good friends by the end, and everyone's happy, and the teachers his reputation's kind of been saved a
I
bit.
spoke to someone in the foyer who interpreted that as them dying and then going to heaven, but
That's bullshit.
That doesn't seem true.
It
at all.
does-
I
they just-
dissuaded this woman of her delusion.
Completely incorrect. Yeah,
but,
wrong.
Sometimes I'm wrong about plot, so I
I think that's the wrong thing. I think there's this kind of rebirth moment because there's a big storm basically, and they get out of the storm. That's it. It's just a storm. It's just this pathetic moment of pathetic fallacy.
I mean, he is good at pathetic fallacy generally. I mean, the moment, or just like metaphors that make you feel stuff. There is this moment where she says he sort of basically this I don't like so much. He's in this like Lucas Dont close way, kind of like confesses his like boy on boy love.
There's a sort of nascent adolescent sexy thing between them,
and
sexy,
then just romantic, really.
Romantic, that's it,
you know, not even erotic, really. Just like they love being together. And then she's like, if you have a feeling, blow it away. And she reveals that she's the head teacher who has hitherto been a very cold and icy woman. And we learn has maybe like accidentally run over her child, but her husband's taking the rap for it. Very interesting. But she basically says, oh, you know, if you have a difficult feeling, like blow it away, like blow it into the trumpet. And then she like teaches him how to play trombone or trumpet or something. And then they make these like kind of haunting discordant noises that sound a bit like maybe Mika Levy's suddenly taken over the soundtrack. And it's much better than all the sentimental Ryoichi Sakamoto.
It is literally Ryoichi Sakamoto. I wonder if it was one of his last acts before he died was to make this.
Probably, yeah. I mean, maybe he also was in charge of that composition, but anyway.
I think he must have been in charge of the whole composition because that feels like that.
But it's so different from the plinky plonky sentimental.
Yeah, because we get
you're
other
supposed
parts
to feel
of
sad now music.
Yeah, we get other parts of the film where someone's reflecting and they feel bad, so we get this kind of uplifting of ding, 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 ding. We get the piano coming in. It's like let the actor and the composition give me that. You know, that don't. You know, it's too programmatic. It's shoving you. It's going, oh, this is sad, and you're supposed to be feeling something right now.
But look, Broker was good. I mean, but it's funny you say this about.
I found this better, if only because the stakes are more interesting. Because the experience of like, you know, when you're a child or an adolescent, you go through these experiences which you gradually. Your sort of your emotional life world and your ethical life world is expanding as you grow, and you encounter situations which are complicated and difficult, and you don't know how to do it. So kids often go silent, or they lie, or they hide, and it can be very difficult for parents and very stressful for parents, I imagine, to kind of unpick the truth. So
yes, it all started really well. It all started well, illuminating
exploring those
ambiguities
ambiguities in the school setting, and I think there's an amazing scene actually, and it's very good satire at times as well about politeness and saving face. About, you know, when the mum goes to confront the school board very hysterically, and in a, I suppose, properly Japanese way, they kind of close ranks and act very deferential.
She's not being hysterical. I mean, I suppose she is, but
in the
like,
context of Japanese, you know, sort of reserve and politeness, she is, and she's kind of overstepping, and the blocking in that scene is fantastic because they're all bowing to her, and we see her face kind of through these bowed bodies. It's very tight. It's very close.
But it is meant. This isn't just a Japanese culture thing. They are meant to seem like icy, right?
Yeah, they're supposed to seem excessively icy and unapologetic. You know, because they're kind of there's reasons why they don't want to accuse her son of basically of bullying. And there's reasons there they don't want to admit that maybe something's not going up well with the teaching at the school because they don't want to basically get told off by the big school board, basically. So they're kind of, you know, protecting their own. And so it's very good at, like, I thought that the actual kind of stakes and the kind of raw meat of the film is quite an interesting space. And it's something we saw with, you know, Lucas Dont's Close was quite good at exploring those kind of the ambivalence and strangeness of adolescence, and it's something Laura Waddell did even better with Playground.
Yes,
which I think is the best version of this film, because we're seeing a lot of dementia films at the moment. We're seeing a lot of bullying and childhood films at the moment. We're getting these two things. We're not getting so much middle life. We're getting a lot of youth, and we're getting a lot of
polarization. You know, that's what they say about porn. You know, it's all about the MILFs and the MILFs and the teens.
Yeah.
We're not getting anything in between.
But I think this is it, and I think there was something about, you know, I think Laura Waddell with Playground did it particularly well because formally it was the most interesting because it was shot entirely from a children's perspective. It was really ambiguous. It was painful. You felt the pain of these children. This film was it wanted to have a neatly tied, wrapped bow at the end of the film and to kind of say, oh, everything's kind of all right. And that's Kore-eda's thing. I just don't think it makes for great cinema. I think if a great cinema is allowing that to hang in the air.
And it's weird as well that his career, you know, I watched Afterlife, which I had never seen before. His
really good film.
Second feature film. and I had seen Malborosi, and
His first.
I remember that being quite like a bit like not as conventional as these recent films. Although this has an unconventional narrative structure, it's shot and kind of played out in a fairly conventional way. And yeah, I just thought, wow, Afterlife is such an extraordinary novel device. It's like deeply weird, but
has
like
a kind of
very compelling.
Nathan Fieldery.
Yeah, it's basically
construction.
a proto Nathan Fielder.
Yeah.
Afterlife by Kore-eda. You definitely watch it if you haven't. But it's weird that he sort of doesn't really do stuff like that anymore. Broker I really liked as a kind of like conventionally shot, thoughtful narrative that I would have thought could do as well as Parasite. Of course, it didn't.
Yeah, it was.
I was very happy with that film. And I'm glad he was more bold in some ways with this film, but it didn't come off. So yeah,
I think it will distribute in the UK. I can imagine.
Yeah, Picture House. So that'll be fine.
Yeah.
But
I think people will see it. It's good. Like honestly, like it's still very beautiful and often quite sublime and quite ambiguous. I think it just fails to realize the real emotional ambiguities and resonances of the topic it's exploring. It's too deferential ultimately to niceness and to narrative cohesion at the end, whereas I think it could have been a lot more strange and thorny.
Yeah, and the moments when it was strange and thorny, like, proved that, I think.
He can do it. He can go there.
Yeah.
He just won't, because he's like I said at the bebeginning, this is his stock in trade really now, is doing neatly tied packages. But if you I said this before, and see it. It's Kore-eda is always like now a kind of nice belly rub in a film festival. Like it's quite pleasant to watch. Like
it'll be 2 hours.
Yeah.
It'll have some humanity to it, and you'll.
So it's very cute.
If you want to, you can feel something.
Yeah, if you want.